Today is Friday, March 27th, 2026, and today is National Joe Day, which apparently is one day of the year where everyone named Joe gets a little recognition, and everyone else wonders how exactly that one made it onto the calendar. Welcome to This Day in History from Wait, That's Random. I'm your host, C.L. Burns. On March 27, 1794, the United States Congress passed the Naval Act of 1794, authorizing the construction of 6 naval frigates and effectively creating the first permanent U.S. Navy. In the years immediately following the American Revolution, the United States didn't maintain much of a standing navy. During the war, the colonies had relied on private ships and temporary naval forces. But once the conflict ended, maintaining a fleet was expensive and many leaders believed it wasn't necessary. That assumption changed when American merchant ships traveling through the Mediterranean began encountering attacks from the Barbary pirates, privateers operating out of North Africa who captured vessels and demanded ransom for crews and cargo. Without a navy, American ships had little protection. So Congress authorized 6 warships designed to defend American trade routes. These ships were frigates, large, fast-sailing vessels carrying dozens of cannons. They were powerful enough to fight in naval battles, but fast enough to outrun larger ships. One of the ships authorized that day was the USS Constitution, sometimes called Old Ironsides, which still exists today as the oldest commissioned warship afloat. The basic idea was simple. If a country wanted to trade across oceans, it also needed a way to protect those routes. And once nations start building systems that connect distant places, another challenge appears. Not just protecting communication, but creating it. On this date in 1884, engineers demonstrated one of the first successful long-distance telephone connections between Boston and New York. Early telephones worked well within cities or between nearby towns, but transmitting clear voice signals over hundreds of miles was much more difficult. The telephone works by converting sound waves into electrical signals. When someone speaks into a transmitter, a thin diaphragm vibrates in response to the sound. Those vibrations are converted into electrical currents and travel through copper wires. At the receiving point, the process reverses and the electrical signal recreates the sound. But electrical signals weaken as they travel long distances through wire. Engineers solved this problem with better transmitters, improved wiring materials, and eventually devices called repeaters, which boosted the signal along the line. This early demonstration proved something important. The telephone wasn't just a local invention. It was becoming part of a national communication network. And once networks start connecting cities and people, they don't just carry information. They carry culture, too. On this date in 1939, the first NCAA men's basketball tournament began in Evanston, Illinois. Today, the tournament, often called March Madness, is one of the largest sporting events in the United States. But the first version was surprisingly small. Only 8 teams participated. Instead of dozens of games played across multiple regions, the entire tournament consisted of just a few rounds leading to a championship game. The NCAA organized the tournament as a way to determine a national champion in college basketball. The format they chose was single elimination. In a single elimination bracket, teams play one game at a time, and the loser is immediately eliminated while the winner advances. That structure creates very high stakes. Every game matters because one loss ends the season. The first tournament was eventually won by the University of Oregon, which defeated Ohio State in the championship game. What started as a small event with 8 teams has since grown into a national spectacle watched by millions. And when you think about it, tournaments and sports have something in common with another form of entertainment. They're both stories. Underdogs, rivalries, dramatic moments, unexpected endings. Which makes it fitting that someone born on this day built a career around telling stories in unusual ways. Quentin Tarantino was born on March 27, 1963. He would go on to become one of the most recognizable filmmakers of the modern era. What makes Tarantino's films distinctive is the way he rearranges stories. Movies like Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs often jump between timelines, showing events out of order and allowing the audience to piece the story together gradually. It's a reminder that storytelling isn't only about what happens. Sometimes it's how the story is told. If you step back and look at these moments together, something interesting begins to appear. A navy protects trade routes across oceans. A telephone network connects cities across hundreds of miles. And a national sports tournament brings teams from across the country into a shared event. Different centuries, different technologies, but each one builds systems that connect people across distance. Anyway, those are a few things I ended up discovering while wandering through March 27th. Stop by tomorrow and we'll see what other strange corners of history the next date decides to reveal. If you want to know more about me or the work I do, you can find everything at waitthat'srandom.com. I'm C.L. Burns, and I appreciate you stopping by.